Welcome back to the last round of the Swiss in the first ever Seattle Valhalla Tournament. Our first tournament through the NAOL on the West Coast. For the end of the Swiss, let's give some big thanks out to people that made this happen. Zulu Board Game Cafes. If you were in Seattle, check these guys out. They were amazing hosts with amazing facilities. Let's throw a big shout out to Larry Van Etten, who was the first one to really push us to branch out to that coast. We're so busy with launching the new set. We were a little nervous about the bandwidth, but Doug Taylor, one of our playtest leads for the Seattle group, got together with Larry and with the help of Howard, who runs the NAOL. They really put together a great tournament. They preloaded the registration to make it easy for everybody running the event on the day. We started on time, flew through the rounds, and just big thanks to all three of them because we got to make a bunch of new friends. We got to get a lot of people really excited about the game who it sounds like are traveling out to the Boston tournament. Let's check out this round seven. I've got my co-founder and good friend Dave McMillan here. Dave and I have had the pleasure of getting to do all 7 rounds of Swiss. Who do we got in this last round, Dave? What are we about to see?
I believe we're about to see Phil the King Keffer versus Carl Carafino. I hope I'm saying that right, Carl. Carl's a good friend. He's been playing with us in the NAOL going back to K2 tournaments in Penn State College. I think he's known for creative and dynamic deck building and kind of marching to the beat of his own drummer while also being very effective with his play and deck building. And it looks like he's running Spawn, the Hand, Scarlet Witch, with Doctor Strange in reserve, Any Heroes, and Shattered Image. So a little interesting thing there to replace that Starjammer's typical slot with the Hand. The Hand has some really interesting Masters of Evils cards. And we know what the King Keffer's running. He's got that Inhuman uh, Holocaust kind of control, negates, and royal families energy going on with some interesting cards from 3 Stat Magneto.
Phil loses a card firsthand. He gets 2 of his events. His bigger, more powerful event generally, no strength power cards may be played, but looking at Carl's energy deck, he opts to play no universe cards, which pays off big time as Carl is forced to place 2 teamwork cards this battle that he cannot play. So that event really bailed. It really helped out Phil from having that big discard firsthand. Phil's also playing some interesting cards. There used to be a mentality to not play the 4 or 4 make additionals off characters, but you're seeing he's got that 4 intellect that doesn't even make a follow up on Holocaust. Yeah, Carl places out. So Carl has put every card down. Phil Keffer now has perfect information. Carl is playing our 2 multi ISIS card. That's one of the options now for your aspect cards on your home base. That venture does come into play. Dave's got a story about a game against Keffer where having the 2
Mm,
and Keffer having the 4, that one venture he ended up losing by one venture, was it, Dave?
yes. This was
Yeah,
round
so
2 of Peace Bridge.
so it can make a difference. The two's more spectrum, but sometimes that even 1 point makes a difference. So Carl's try Phil Mil sorry, Phil Keffer has to be trying to decide here how much he's gonna bet.
Yeah.
Now, even though those 2 universe cards are not playable, if he gives Carl a lot of cards, he's not representing a lot of big hits. He's got a 3, he's got a 4, he's got a 4, he's got a premier piece of defense, but looks like he's gonna go 4 and give Carl 2 cards.
Those duplicate 7.
That is rough. If he hadn't duped that 7, if that had been an 8, for example, we might have seen a good fight here. But I think Carl at this point should just take his placing advantage into the next hand
Yeah,
and try to fight another day.
I agree. Going back to that, these lower hits, these allies and formic additionals, I have a lot of good conversations with the king. And while I am just a lowly serf, I will take some credit for. I think folks are starting to understand that you do need to have some unique actions in your deck that you can place that won't duplicate. And particularly when you can get them off suit, he's running that 4 intellect in a deck that's pretty much energy heavy. I run the Starjammers 2 to 8 because it's blue, and a lot of times in my JW deck, you can't take that 2 to 8 at all. So you're very prone to KO. I think you're seeing some of the better players start to experiment with those, and I think that's good for the game.
For sure. All right, we're seeing here a couple of dupes from the king. Carl's got a great hand. Carl's got a nine or less avoid. He's got a negate. He's got another teamwork card in his hand. He's got to get rid of an eight because he gets rid of an eight fighting, but he's got an eight energy in hand. So he opts to keep that. Probably because the first attack with it off that hand attack is going to make it a 10.
Yes.
He's also got a six intellect um, teamwork in hand, and he probably wants to maintain the second follow up. Both of those teamworks have to come from the hand, so he probably needs that six and the eight to get him through. That's sometimes an awkward position to be in, though, also because you don't really. It's great to be able to throw that as a 10, but if that's defense that you're counting on too, I don't know though.
Right.
Carl's in a very good position here. I feel like this is the time where he can make a little bit of a conservative bet, keep that placing advantage, get a few hits back, and really kind of punish those two dupes that the king got.
Yeah. I like what Carl's done here in that he maintained his placing advantage. He was disciplined round one and retreated. And I think he's got a good position here, like you said, to conservatively push the action and get control back of this match.
And this is one of those situations where I'm your school of thought in this hand. If I'm Phil the King Keffer is gonna make he's gonna make a call on. Oh, he's still deciding if he wants to keep pace in place here. I think he's got to. He's going to make a bet here, and then Carl's going to decide. So he goes the one. We kind of saw that coming. I feel like, what's he got? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight cards to Carl's 10. Carl's going to be up two. I don't think this is your fight. I think you bet your two, you be
Yeah.
conservative, and you just go to the next round.
Look like Carl's thinking about three. Gonna
He's
go
going to
three.
do the three, though. So Keffer is deciding if he's even going to bother to draw the card or if he's going to give Carl the three. I'm with you again in this situation, Dave. There is no way he's already drawn two events. The chance that that's the thing you're usually the most worried about getting on one of these draws is not having your powerful event. You got to look at the card.
Yeah. I learned that from the Strangler, Phil Miller. You just have to peak sometimes. And sometimes,
Oh, and and I'm immediately I
oh,
was so wrong. I'm so wrong.
no, but I mean, look, Phil Miller did it also. I'm sorry, Phil Keffer. I think it's the right play to peak. It's bad luck that he would get that. And that's a big swing. If we had a ESPN win percentage meter here, having that teamwork clear event get drawn is just a huge swing for Carl here.
Now we've seen Keffer in multiple matches today, and I will say he has used that spontaneous combustion off the site first first attack almost every single time to get rid of the negate that's on the board. And I don't see his deck as a deck that really needs to get rid of it. So I'm clearly not. I mean, anything the King's doing, he's thought it through, and there's a reason. But I find it really interesting how aggressively he's gone after getting rid of those negates. And maybe it's just for this. He wants a way to get the Magneto paralyzed opponent through.
Right. And that's definitely more effective as well against any hero deck because Carl is really relying heavily on Scarlet Witch's negates. After that, he has 2 to 3 any hero that can help deal with a non-numerical attack.
So he throws the six. Yeah, Keffer's got to defend that because just for the opportunity that he could throw an eight over
Now,
the top.
I do not agree with the play that Carl just made.
Yep. He's
That two and that look needs to go to Holocaust. Um, it gives the king an opportunity, I believe, to use 4 multi on defense.
Even if you throw it Magneto, just you can't that 4 is out of the equation. It's either an attack that he discards 2 cards to throw, or it sits on the character and you've at least got a 1-for-1 with the pin. You can't give him the ability to use that defensively.
And I think
Kind of
that is,
surprised it's even a consideration here. This seems to me like a snap decision, but
and I think he took it, which is surprising. I feel like that made Phil think of like, why would he do that?
all right, so Carl gets rid of the 4 intellect. I like that play. Maybe Carl's just committed to trying to take out the Inhumans here. Yeah, see, then I don't know. I feel like what are you worried about if you throw it at Holocaust? If he uses the 5, great. That's what you want. You bet 3.
Right.
Is he worried? Maybe he doesn't know because Inhumans cannot discard the basics to make that attack, right?
Right, correct. It has to be cards placed in
Place
them or in the hand.
Maybe that was his only thing is maybe Carl didn't realize that and thought he could discard the basics to throw it and wanted to chew it up. I don't know, but Carl's got he's got the 9 or less avoid in an 8 in his hand still. Um, he's in a decent position, but don't forget the king still has that Cheshire Cat, the 4 intellect attack. He's still got the 6 combat teamwork that is playable from the reserve.
He uses the 5 to block. Now, see, I would have rather had that 2 go to Magneto or to Holocaust to see if maybe you could have run out cumulative in a way. Um, I
I
guess
mean, I
we'll
don't
see
see a
what happens.
way. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I don't
No,
see a
you're
way
fine.
Kefir doesn't fold here.
He's considering whether he can play something from hand, but we know how that goes. Once your hand is exhausted and the opponent has complete information, a lot of bad things can happen.
Yeah, I mean, don't forget too, Carl still got the 2 ISIS. Like
Right.
he's he's up he's up in action. He's winning venture by 8 points already. Um, oh, he's not up in action. Though the 6 and the teamwork are pinned, but he's still 4 cards to Phil's essentially 3.
Right. With a venture lead. But he's going to lead with Cheshire Cat. It's tough. I don't like using my aspects this early in these kind of situations because that's that placement slot you can't get back unless you're using a unique Wondergore Mountain or
Yeah.
um, Falls Edge Compound. So once you play your Cheshire Cat or Isis or whatever the aspect is, you can't keep dragging that. So I understand why the king was prodding the defense,
Yeah.
but
Now, what I just realized too, that 8 energy in Carl's hand is also pinned. He got the 8, the 6, and the teamwork.
that's a
So
great point.
so Kefir doesn't know that, but I think you fire off the 2 here at Holocaust and you bluff this. You
Yeah,
gotta just act as if. You're
I
you're
agree.
ahead by 8. You follow off the 2. You've still got a 7 placed. Like
Right.
he's probably defending whatever's from his hand. Um, it's probably I if Kefir's a good enough player, I'm assuming he's got a follow up for that teamwork card. So he's doing the math right now of what's coming next. Am I gonna have to block it anyway?
So the teamwork in the back is a fighting teamwork. So the hand has the 3 fighting on them. You don't have to worry about um, the
Spectrum.
kill, the spectrum, if you're
No,
Carl.
this is just a math game at this point. There's a part of me that I think Kefir's being a little stubborn with this hand,
He is.
throwing that last attack.
I think some of these better players than I like to test the opponent and see if they really have the nuts. Sometimes there's a peril there that you can push farther than you want in a battle that you weren't really committed to in the first place. So it looks like Kefir is going to use a premium defense here, Quicksilver, avoid for that ISIS. No, no, whoa, whoa. He let
He's
ISIS.
throwing the 4 from Holocaust to lock Holocaust out.
Interesting. And he
He
put
has
some
n
more color on the board. I don't hate the play.
So this is a mistake. This is the mistake. This is where a judge needed to be called. So he can't actually discard those to throw the follow-up. So that's explains a lot
Oh,
more the way his thought process was going. So I believe we'll do some research in between these rounds to make sure, but I'm almost positive finite power, the cards discarded have to come from the Inhumans or from your hand.
yes. No,
They
I'm
can't,
very sure of that.
yeah. So um but, you've got 2 players who didn't know the intricacies of that. It's really on Carl to call the judge at that point and get a ruling. And that's a tough one because that puts those cards in the bottom pile and leaves Carl at a 3-4 situation, which is not where he wanted to be with after he put all those resources into that last battle. If he was at this point right now, if he was up 3 and was at a 3-2 or 3-3-1, and with the hand he just drew and the no activators event, this would be
Yeah.
a much different game right now. But let's see where it goes. So Kefir has to drop 2. Carl knows he doesn't have this is also the problem. Carl knows he doesn't have the defense to keep his guys alive, but he's not in a point venture wise where he can capitalize on it because those 3 went to the bottom.
I think Carl is showing Merlin any hero
He is.
and he's gonna place that to Scarlet Witch.
Yeah. Kefir's got heat 6, 7, 8, 2 8 multis, and a 4. You can't ask for much more heat than that. Carl's in a situation where he's got the teamworks, he's got some cards, but it doesn't look like he drew any of his big defensive cards. And unfortunately, he's going second, so he's got to be able to deal with an 8 power card somehow coming through on Scarlet Witch. The only saving grace here is Kefra's probably going to be a little nervous about firing the 8 off right away. He could actually fire a 7 off too, because the 7 and the 6, the 6 is the play, because the 6 and the 7 are already placed to other people. So if he throws a 6 power card, that's still something that Carl's deck is going to need his full avoid or something else to deal with.
And if it's a power card, obviously, just what's hitting us in the face here, he could get rid of that negate. And that losing that any hero KO Scarlet Witch would kind of offset the -5 to venture inherent.
Absolutely, and I'll be honest, I would have placed that to Spawn. I think it
I
was a
agree.
mistake. Yeah. I would have put it in Spawn. Look, Spawn's slot is for a defensive card. You've seen one of his Protector of the Innocents go by already. If you don't get the opportunity to place it and carry it, that's fine. I think I would have just made sure I still had that negate for later battles.
Yeah, I believe also with Scarlet Witch being painted, that really should have made the negate go to Spawn, so it's not threatened by the KO. A
Because
lot
that
of
also
times,
go ahead.
I actually like to place the negate to Team Overpower anyway, because then anyone has access to it, and you can't have target discards like Iron Man stealth armor to get rid of it. You get it back there; it's a little safer. Anyone has access, and it'll never be a dead card. Um, Placing that to Scarlet Witch, we also know that it's a victory condition often to have 2 negates placed. So I also would have rather had the negate on Spawn in case your Scarlet Witch negate comes up. You get the 2 placed, and then that basically cuts the opponent off from their special card offense. Now, this is round 7. It's been a long day. It's
Yeah.
probably 5 p.m. Many of us are jet lagged, and you're at probably 4 and 2 facing both of them are facing top players. There's a lot of things that are happening, so I totally understand. Oh,
3 for the loss, and he just gives it to him. So I think Carl ended up in a pretty good situation there.
it's unfortunate that the prior battle he
Yeah.
didn't get the ruling on the universes, or he didn't know that, because I think he had a window of opportunity here.
Yeah, I think that's a very different match. But that's part of both of the players is just that's one thing I think all of us are going to have to get more used to is now that the meta's opening up, there's new cards, there's new home bases, there are new strategies. Ooh, three duplicates for King. Looks like Carl only had one. He's got his any hero avoid. He's got the avoid from Doctor Strange. He's in a good position now that he's got the lead, the ability to go first here. So let's see how he uses it. I was just saying, there's more diagnosing that needs to take place, but there's also, I think you're going to have to think a little more about the game at other points and say, okay, like, how does this interaction work? I have to be comfortable calling the judge over. You just have to
Exactly.
judge. As soon as something happens, there has to be a point where he was like, oh, I didn't know he could do that. Okay. And then and this is for everybody, new players. The best thing you can do is just always call a judge. The
Yeah,
judge is going to know the rulings. They're going to have the sheets they can look up. If you are not 100% sure about something, just do it. Sometimes people feel uncomfortable or like it's a disciplinary thing. It's really just you asking for clarification on the rules before you make a decision.
I agree. And the same goes for players who sometimes might either be grinding clock or have the appearance of doing so. There's no shame in asking a judge to call time and see what's taking the player so long to decide. There's no shame in it. It can only help. Can never
Yeah.
hurt.
And look, players might not even be doing it intentionally, but I know I've been in games where it's real stressful and we're midway through the round and it matters where they play stuff. But you got to understand in a 40-minute round, if they're taking 30 seconds to decide one card to place, and they're placing 6 or 7 cards, you're using up like 6 or 7% of the match just to place a few cards. That's those kind of situations. Don't be afraid at all about calling the judge over. So Carl hits him with the three again. Phil draws it. Looks like Phil keeps it. Phil does have his Beyonder activator in hand. That's going to give him a good premier piece of defense. Carl's in a great place. To be
Carl,
completely,
he does have initiative, and that is helpful. The
I was
king, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think we might just see another one and run from the king. That's also the disadvantage. You talk about a lot about this. The disadvantage of getting a lot of cards in the dead pile, or sorry, in the defeated missions pile early. You can't You have to spend so many resources to dig out, and you just can't capitalize.
Right.
So we're
Yep.
finally getting to see Carl capitalize on the design of the deck, which is a fighting character throwing those big level 8 teamworks with the big follow up. So this 6 is coming over as an 8.
Yes. We'll get to see if Kefir has what the doctor. For anyone who doesn't know, Wondagore Mountain Doctor Doom has it where he can lock out energy attacks. Instead of this, he's actually using the Quicksilver Avoid, which is interesting. Doesn't Quicksilver have the no energy power cards?
He does.
Maybe the King's that in the battle side, which would surprise me. I definitely would use it knowing the energy's so prolific in the meta. But
But
no,
at the same time, it was so not as prolific last time. He may
yeah,
have made the choice to pull it. Quicksilver's got a lot of good cards. He's got the one, he's got the avoid. He's got the four that you could see that Kefir liked, where he played it offensively to protect Holocaust.
yep.
It would be a fourth card for Kefir, which I'd be surprised if he's running four on a character that isn't his one per deck.
Now, if you're Carl, you gotta love that Phil just used a pure avoid and the numerical avoid back to back. The site is really starting to lose a lot of that defensive juice, and that puts Carl in a commanding position for his next teamwork string. And I think
Yeah,
the king knows that. He's shuffling his cards. I think he's thinking about how much he can press, but his best actions here are special cards. You see a negate placed a 6 or less and a 9 or less, and he can select a slain and go look at his pile, and he's got 5 in hand. Uh, If I'm the king, I'm scooting here. And he probably should have scooted before the hand and not use those two premier defenses. But we'll see what happens.
And I think this is the perfect situation where Carl just wants to play cards from his hand. I
Yes.
think Keffer's up. What has Keffer got right now? 6 playable cards, not counting the basic universe. 6 actions that matter to Venture. To Carl's 6 actions that matter to Venture. So Carl's exhausted a lot of attacks on his battle site. He's going for the win here. Okay, he's got more cards in his hand. He's got 2 extra cards than the king. If he's got to go to the boards, he plays that Valkyrie Scalguard off the home base to look at 5 cards from his top of the deck, cherry pick whatever he needs out of those 5 to lock in this hand. I think he just wants to focus on playing from hand and seeing if he can exhaust some of those big actions on the characters or pick off Holocaust. You know, he's representing that he can throw that teamwork with a 7. Who knows what's in his hand? So he's going to try to throw the big attack over the top to kill the Scarlet Witch.
And
And
he has Freya.
he has the Guardian Angel Protective of Void.
Now you know that
Boom.
has to hurt Keffer because
Yeah,
he
that is
knows
that
there's
is
only 2 cards that can stop that.
definitely not what he was expecting. Now, I would disagree with this play. You know, he's seen the opportunity to throw the attacks, but I think you just keep the teamwork there. You still represent the kill, and you just throw something from your hand like the Scarlet Witch 6.
But I guess perhaps we'd be wrong. I don't know. Looking at his hand, he has a Scarlet Witch 6. And what are those? No
I can't tell the
numbers.
other ones. They're power surge cards, so they might all be for Scarlet Witch. I don't know what
So
they would all be, but
maybe straight power
spontaneous
cards
combustion.
don't count to venture?
Maybe Carl could be playing that card. You know, there was so much strength at the last tournament. I could see him maybe hedging against the strength decks and just keeping it in hand to bluff when he's not up against them.
Right.
And I gotta say, I'll respect it. I thought about maybe doing something. I hedged against strength this tournament with my events. Now, unfortunately, the meta shifted back and there was more energy than before, less strength. So I regretted the decision as well, but I made a similar play. I was playing the same Age of Apocalypse set that Keffer played, and it's fun to see the meta shift again. I do have to say, Age of Apocalypse, it hasn't been played on a team probably since the old game existed in the 90s. And all of a sudden, with the introduction of only a handful of cards, we've seen the strength meta shift to representing at least 33% of the set. And as soon as that started to happen, I think there were 6 or 7 decks. I was playing Age of Apocalypse, Phil Keffer, Marcel. I definitely saw a couple of the other Seattle guys using it. It was out there a lot, I think, to try to deal with this new meta shift, which that's great. That's such a healthy place for the game to be. Now, he's got a Colossus activator, Keffer. He's got a Nightcrawler activator, and he's got a 3 multi. He wants to throw the Nightcrawler DZ and try to pin somebody, probably, or maybe protect his guy. But that negate is just sitting there, and he's probably thinking in his head it's not going to go through. I think what's really going to happen
Oh,
is he's going to use
oh.
a negate from hand.
He used the 6 from Nightcrawler, but Carl was sitting on that negate.
And
Yep.
he's going to do exactly what he said. He's going to spontaneous combustion the 8. So that was one of the cards. No, it's the 8 multi and the 6. I just couldn't see the icons. So he's
Now,
got his own 8 multi in hand.
interestingly, though, I think I wouldn't have spontaneous combusted the multi. I would have gone for the power card because he has the negate a 6 or less and a 9 or less, where I don't think those special cards are currently a threat. So we'll see this magnetic devastation. He's going to negate that now. And he throws the 8 multi for the kill. And Keffer's going to use the Colossus
Oh,
Stoic
so he's going to
Protector
get that
to
draw
avoid.
off it, which is rough. The other thing that's annoying for Keffer is he wants to throw that 4 to a lot of times that makes you have to. Oh, he
Oh,
drew
he
the
duplicates it.
6.
Oof.
Oh God, what are the odds? What
I
a
know.
painful draw.
This has been a rough set of variants for the king. Both the drawing the card from Carl's bet three and getting the anti-hero teamwork player event and losing his most powerful event to just that draw right there and getting the six and not increasing his odds here. Um, yeah, he's got to do that to try to get rid of the six or less. I understand. He's gonna select this. Well, let's see.
He's just got the 6 in his hand, and yeah, I don't think I use it. This is again, you're winning the venture. Throw the 6 on Inhumans,
Yep.
make him make his choice. You've got the defense for whatever he throws back. And at this point, you're so far down in your deck. I don't think you gotta cling to. There you go.
So he does it. I think the king's gonna block with that six. And the only question we have is, does Magneto have an 11 or something that's really unfortunate? He's thinking about it. And he's looking at his battle site, so I have to think that's an activator. No, it's a 3 multi, I believe, not for the kill.
17.
Yep.
Yeah, there you
I
go.
would
And
I
if
would
I'm
take it.
Carl, I just pass. I'll use my Living Protector, save that draw card for after.
I agree. Yeah, I bet you that's what he does. I think this is a case of Phil got into a little bit of a what contest over this hand in a way that I don't think was necessarily productive. But we'll see whether it matters. I don't know that his Holocaust is too deeply stacked in the deck. It might not matter that he lost him as much as you'd think. So Carl, I believe, takes that hand down.
He sure
Struggle.
does. So he gets 3 more to the middle. So Carl goes to 3-3-1. Kefir looks to be either 3-3-1 or 4-2-1. So they're pretty even right now, but I like Carl's position where he's still got his guy. Oh, he's got some great cards coming. Wow, Madame Gao. He's got Bakudo, both of his premier hand cards. He's got the Gemini, so he can go get a Negator and a Void. He's got a Confusion in hand. He's got a lot of good stuff. Kefir's looking at Dupe 7 power card, a couple of Teamwork cards.
There's the
He's
Duke
got
7.
this. He's got to lose that 6. He's got a 6. A 6 strength Teamwork that was only usable by Holocaust. That's also a discard. Now he does have. He does have a Colossus. Yep, he just realized that he's got a Colossus activator. Might have his Avoid off there. Almost certainly has a Haymaker.
Now, this is
He's
an
only going to be able
interesting
to
one.
place 2 cards.
Now, Carl doesn't have a negate, and he's not careful. Phil might poke through that Colossus discard 3 from hand. And that could be devastating to this hand. So we'll
But I will
see.
also say this: Carl gets to go first, and if Phil places that 7, I'm going to bet that Kefir's not going to be ready for the Madame Gao. He can immediately say, discard the 7, and then this acts as a 7 on the person that you didn't place it. And then again, it's going to take another piece of premier defense, but that one to Gore Mountain cannot have very much left.
It can't.
What have we seen? We've seen the Avoid. We've seen the teammate Avoid draw.
It might have the Scarlet Witch negate.
And he may have that in his hand. He does have 4 activators, so but then at the same time, if you negate the Madame Gao in that situation, you're still eating the Bakudo over and over again at this point, and that card is annoying as heck too.
Yeah. I really do like Carl's position. It's unfortunate that the finite power discarding basics issue wasn't adjudicated or asked to be adjudicated. I
Now,
think he made a
Carl's got the
really good run.
Gemini too. Oh, sorry,
No, go
dude. I
ahead.
mean, what do you think? Do you think so your concern's valid about the discard 3 off the Colossus, which he has, and he's probably going to play. Do you Gemini immediately and go get a negate in this situation?
I think you have to. Um, but I'll say this: I'm not sure if Carl has played Kefir in this build recently, so you might not necessarily know that the R3 is what's going to come. It's like a muscle memory type issue. Um, I hope that Carl recognizes that, and if he's fighting this battle, that he leads off with Gemini. He goes another 3. He is firing on all cylinders right now.
And he's taking it to the king. Oh, that's well, Kefir needed some luck after he duped on the 6 on the last one, but he drew an 8. So for Carl, that's definitely a rough draw. Um, Carl doesn't look to have any of his 9 or lesses. That 8 alone, Scarlet Witch is not long for this world. So
Right. But I think he's seen a lot of her cards. We try to see strength.
I
A
mean, he had
few,
4 of them in the last hand, so he's certainly seen a decent amount of them.
and once she takes the KO, he's going to get that 5. And he does what we're saying. I believe he plays
He plays the
Gemini.
Gemini. Now the question is, what does he get? I mean, I think
Gotta
I
get
think you got to get the negate if you know about the draw 3, but at the same time, he's going to think you got the negate. You might want to throw a fastball here, like a tricky play, and get the 9 or less avoid.
That's a great point.
Because he's going to assume you're getting the negate. He's not going to want to fire the Colossus right away. And then you got to just dump like 2 actions from your hand somehow. Because the problem is, like, I think no matter what happens after this, Kefir is going to try to throw the 8 and kill Scarlet Witch to get rid of the negate.
That's a great point. I agree. And it looks like Carl's thinking about it. So he's definitely doing his.
Oh, he's considering getting a teamwork out to throw a big thing, it looks like.
Oh my lord.
I don't know what. We got to see what he gets. This is such an interesting thing. It does not look like he's getting. It looks like he's getting a teamwork.
We'll see if Phil gets him with the discard 3. That's going to be the unfortunate ESPN power swing here.
I
Does he
want to see if
test
he
his
did.
defense?
So he's going to play Quicksilver. This is going to probably be the 1 with a couple of attacks, and he's going to try to go. He's going to try to go 1, see if he can make him use the negate here, which he didn't. Oh, okay. I don't know what's going on.
Well, no, you got it right. He's going to do that, and he's going to try to boost that 8 to a 10, or do the 7 to an 8 and the 8 to an. The challenge is again Scarlet Witch. How much value is left there? I think Phil's considering his options.
Well, and remember too, like, look,
There's a
if
10.
she's going down with an 8, giving me that 5 venture bonus, not the end of the world here. This is still a great position for him to be in. Now, unfortunately, I think he's got the negate in his hand, like you said. I think he's gonna fire the Madame Gao off at the 7. Oh, the 7's gonna be gone, and the
Oh,
Madame Gao. I mean, he couldn't have. There's nothing he could have done about it. He had to. He had to Gemini first.
he had a Gemini first. If he has the negate, maybe he needed to negate this 1. Maybe Phil's even thinking better of throwing the 7. He's just gonna forego the second one, but
I mean, I think Phil Keffer is probably thought this through and remembers, oh, I haven't seen Madame Gao yet. I shouldn't be hanging out with a 7 placed.
that's true.
I still think in this situation, though, I would have got the 9 or less avoid and avoided avoided the 8. But this is what he wants to do. He wants to get that big KO pressure. So that takes out the Inhumans.
So we're down to 3-stat Magneto and who's on the
Silver Sable.
Silver Sable?
And the position he's in, I mean, I guess you have to follow it up and start going for Magneto, but I hate attacking away from Silver Sable. All right, he goes for Sable. I respect that.
Because she's a 6 ranker, he might be next teamwork string to kill her and dodge the 9 or less. And that's the disciplined thing to do. You just don't want to make the mistake of giving him value for that 9 or avoid.
And you're representing that teamwork string too. Now, Keffer doesn't realize he's got a confusion and a dead Madame Gao, and the confusion's useless. We know because we can see both their hands. But he's also put himself in a position now where that discard 3 essentially gets 2 dead cards.
It doesn't really do the damage it's supposed to, right?
I think the best case scenario that can happen here is he fires off the Colossus discard 3 after this. He's probably not gonna. He's probably trying to wait until Carl uses the Valkyrie to go get a card, so then he can try to make him discard the card that he just got. But there's just so much good stuff on the board. I mean, even get the Bakudo off, get the 3 more venture, flip another attack. Like there's just so much. Oh no. The Omega Red 7 is gonna take out. That is such a brutal
Oh.
hit. Ugh, just going over the top by that one venture.
So, I mean, what is in Carl's hands? I guess when he did the Gemini, he went and got the teamwork.
He went and got the teamwork.
I
I
think that
just
yeah, I think that was too aggressive.
Yeah, I think he needed to be conservative. I think at that point I just take the 9 or less.
And
You
9
know
or
you
less
can't.
has the best value for handling almost everything but the Magneto 11. The negate, he could have negated that one, make two additional, and stole that turn back. Either one of those cards, I think, had more value
Right, but
than the
Scarlet
second
Witch
teamwork.
she's so close to being dead at that point. You get the 9 or less, and even if he kills her with the first shot,
I think
I'm
either one of those is better than the teamwork.
yeah, I agree.
You needed something to try to steal a turn back or to stave off the KO pressure. I think we've all been in this position. You're in a hand, you have card advantage, and you try to talk yourself into believing your defense is better than it really is. And it's challenging because the better players like the king will push you to test your defense. And this might have folded in on Carl like a house of cards. That's really a tough swing, that Omega Red 7 AR for the kill. What was on him? I think that's at least a
He
16
lost a
venture swing.
6 and he lost the Bakudo. Now, Carl has a lot of choices here. He looks like he doesn't really want to take the draw 3 to try to win this hand, and I kind of agree with that. Yeah, he ends up taking it, but I think I might have. Oh, no, they go on your draw pile, Carl. I think I would have just taken the 4 multi there, you know,
Mhm.
and just represented more pressure. I don't know. The draw 3 is good, but
The fact that you have to show it
well,
is
he
tough.
also didn't show it. I don't believe he did. So sometimes people watching the commentary. Remember, that's a reveal. So you got to show what you get. I think we're gonna see the discard 3 here.
Oh no. Oh, oh no, Nightcrawler. Oh
Oh,
wait, wait.
he might DZ him here.
Oh, this is interesting.
I mean, whatever it is, it's pretty much gonna happen.
I think yeah, this is tough. How much
I
venture
mean,
does Carl have? He has essentially 11. Oof.
now is there anything in Carl's deck that's worth playing? That I think I play the draw 3 here. I'm
You
gonna
just
be
have
honest.
to. You just have to see what happens. Maybe he gets, does he has he played his A next? His aspect? No, he concedes.
See, I think I'd play it not just because there's no one Prodex for either of those guys at this point you're worried about having go by. I guess you're worried maybe you don't want to get the Power Leech. We haven't seen the Power Leech yet, the Grim Reaper, but I was thinking like you can get rid of the dead cards you draw for other characters. So let's see watch what is those 3 middle cards are. See how he organizes his hand. They're going to be right in the middle, so it'll be the 3 cards not quite all the way to the other side. So it would have been a Scarlet Witch that he would have gotten, not had dead, a 4 for spawn, and it looks like a power card. So it wouldn't have really got him anywhere. He would have lost the 9 or less avoid, so yeah, it would have been a 1 multi. I don't know. It would have made him have one less duplicate, but it would have eaten up a 4 multi and a 1 multi that he's going to use. So who's to say? But unfortunately for Carl, I think we're about to see the same thing here, which is Keffer's been very disciplined about not using that Colossus card. He's got a third Colossus activator in his hand. Uh, Scarlet Witch is dead. The Merlin's gone by. I think you're gonna just, unless Carl places everything he has, I think it's gonna be a bet for the win. He's also got the 11. I think Keffer's gonna bet for the win here. Make him discard the cards from hand and throw an 11. And he can place the 11 to the armory, so that's just gonna carry. Gonna be 3 for the win, it looks like. Yeah, this is a very interesting game. I really think Carl had the king on the ropes here. Ugh. All right, so they're doing a lot of thinking here. Very important hand that they're going into here. Dave, your mic is muted if you didn't notice that. I don't know if you clicked that on accident.
Up, yep. I was giving the
So
best commentary of my life.
so exactly what we said is going to happen. Carl even knows it before it's played. He's already putting his cards in the dead pile. He got a Scarlet Witch on the draw 3. He's got to discard his hand. Keffer's going for the win. Even there's literally nothing he can do. He has no defense. I
Right.
think we're just going to see the handshake here.
I agree. Now, I think what I was saying in my fantastic commentary that missed because of accidental mute. I think we know that this was a really close match with a lot of big swings, and I think that finite power misadjudication there was a turning point. And PSA for all the folks watching: if you have any questions about the rules, like Joe said, just call the judge. And outside of that, it was a very well played, hard fought game. I think a lot of big swings, and I think Carl, even after that, had a few opportunities to take the king down. I think his deck didn't cooperate, and I think that Gemini for the teamwork was just a
Yeah, I think
play
that
that
was a
was
big turning
slightly
point. If he would have gotten the 9 or less and then been able to use it to avoid the 8, the 7 would have been over for the kill shot, and then the 7 from Omega Red wouldn't have killed hand. Then we would have seen a Valkyrie that would have gone into something that could have possibly been another defense, or we see Bakudo possibly throws an attack. There's a lot of ways that hand would have played out differently with
and
a different choice.
that DZ wouldn't have been a lockout for the end of the game. He just said someone could have possibly played some of the cards he would have gotten from the draw. Just
Exactly.
a big swing right there, and I like the aggression. I guess I just don't agree tactically that I'm not sure I would ever personally uh, Gemini teamwork. I think
I mean,
that
there's
9
I
or
think
less.
there's situations where, like, again, if you need to get over the top with an 8 and it makes the 8 a 10, I think there's certain times where it makes sense. But yeah, I think that was just there was I think also too to give again always give Keffer the credit of I think Carl was really had him on the ropes for those first few hands. And Keffer stayed in the rest of the game, stayed calm, just played a conservative game, got up enough on venture, put the KO pressure out there, and got it back on the attrition too. So
What a great match between two great players running some interesting decks. I don't think I got to play Carl last few tournaments, so I do look forward to the next time I get to play him. Probably get my heart broken. Hats off to him for these innovative decks, and as always, hats off to the King for being one of the best, if not the best, a current overpower player in the game.
yeah. All right, guys, that is it for the Swiss rounds. We're gonna be back for the top 8. And we will see everybody there. Thanks very much.